Hi, everyone. Dr. Victoria Scribo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. I was just sitting here and listening to two really great reports from Democracy Now! One was Naomi Klein, and the second one I was watching was Noam Chomsky. And I'm going to I'll link them below. Just, they don't have that much to do, or maybe they do. I don't know. With the reading that I was sort of just sitting here listening to that, thinking about things, and I flipped some cards over, and I just want to kind of share the cards that I flipped over. I was thinking of the situation that we're in now, the pandemic that we're in now, and I asked myself why, what was the purpose of this, and so these are the cards that came up. I found them actually very telling and very powerful. So I want to just share them with you. Those are the first card that the immediate environment, or the first card I picked was, um, there we go, the Ace of Swords. Now, the Ace of Swords is an interesting card because, well, first of all, the Ace of Swords means an action that needs to be taken. It means that we're going to take an action, and that action is precludes all other actions. That's the thing with the action, the initial action. And it's interesting because there's a corona or a crown at the top of this with laurel leaves. Laurel leaves, I believe, are a symbol of victory. Um, there's laurel, and I think there's another type of. There are two different flowers on this. I don't know both of them, but I know this one is laurel. Um, and they would put it around, the laurel. It meant victory, so it's a symbol of victory. And of course, the ace, as in all the aces, this is the hand of God. So there is this sense of divine intervention. Um, in the Tree of Life, this is located in Kether, or the crown. We keep getting all these crown names here. Um, and it is the root of air. It is the root of air. And air is, to a certain extent, that mental ability. Um, is in order for mental things to be understood, there has to be a division. There has to be a dark and a light and a good and a bad, because we learn through contrast. Okay, if you look at a book and you see the words on the page, if the print of the page, if the color of the page and the color of the print were the same, you could not read what was there. You need contrast to read, and that's kind of what air needs. Air needs contrast. And so we have this Ace of Swords. And the other interesting thing about the Ace of Swords is that I did a, a numerology and Kabbalah on this virus. I actually did two because I misspelled one of the words, so I had to do it again. But those are also definitely worth a look at. Um, but the day that it was announced, the virus was announced, was actually um, the 31st of December 2019. And when you add that up together, you get a 55-1 vibration. And the 55-1 in the Kabbalah is this card right here. So there's definitely an intention behind this. I believe it's a higher, I believe it's a higher vibrational intention. I don't think it's necessarily a um, a conspiracy theory. I don't, or if it is, I don't know which one it is, because there's a number of them. Um, but I don't think any of them are definitive to what is happening, except for um, that there is some sort of divine hand. And I don't mean, uh, being smote by God because we're evil or we're sinful. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about an action that needed to be taken to bring us to the next level of consciousness that we need. And that leaves behind that stuff. That leaves behind that stuff. What's crossing this Ace of Swords? So this would be the interference, perhaps that this sort of clean sword swipe of spirit would like to accomplish, and that's this card, the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is about cruelty. It's about just plain being mean. This is the Trump administration. This is I'm gonna win and take all the toys home, and nobody wants to play with this person anymore because it doesn't play fair. And so it's this energy of getting you know it's in the way of the cleanliness of what spirit is trying to accomplish here. And so of ultimately spirit will, and you'll see as we do with the cards, spirit will um it will say win out. I don't like to use the word win, but the point will be had and the point will be made. And so even though it seems like through this period there's all these people doing these really awful things, and and large corporations perhaps trying to get bailouts, that but they're not going to support they're not going to support the people. They're going to do the stock buyouts, and then Mnuchin is in charge of where the money's going to go, and so that means Trump is in charge of where the money's going to go. So all of that stuff that's happening undercover, or not really even undercover, of this pandemic, that's an interference. If people are aware of that interference, then we'll get the next card, which is what lies beneath it. And this is about being riled up, riled up. And this is also a five. Five is change. This is a five. Five is change. Both of these cards are located in Gabura, which is connected to Mars, the planet Mars. Mars right now is in Aquarius. Um, I'm trying to think, was Mars in Pisces at the beginning of the year? I'd have to look again up, see where Mars was. Of course, Pisces is the sign associated with pandemics, and Mars is, action towards, right? So it's very, very possible that Mars was in when COVID-19 was actually coined, or the coronavirus. I'm not sure which one, on the 31st. But this is people being upset, and we have every right to be upset. And there's a grassroots movement already, and this dissatisfaction can be channeled to a certain extent, and sort of bring that more progressive movement forward. And when I mean progressive movement, I mean, Medicare for all, changing the healthcare system, all of that. And all of that's going to happen, or have to happen, because of the coronavirus anyway. People are going to say we can't keep doing it this way because it doesn't work. And 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 when it comes to, the people that you love in your life, and watching them suffer or not suffer, or die or not die, this is big deal. All right, this is a big deal. Now, in the past, we have the Two of Wands. And the first thought I thought of this is a card that I feel like we're looking outside of ourselves for help or for enemies. Okay? The Democrats look outside of themselves and see Russia everywhere. The Republicans look outside of themselves and see aliens as the enemy. And yet people are just reflections of us. We need to look inside as a country. And this is what's happening. We're having to look inside. First of all, we're staying inside, and we have to hang around with the people that we live with, whether we like them or not. Um, when you can have a family that is, with five people, and five people every day go in a different direction, and then they just sleep under the same roof. But You could have that family, right? Have to stay under the same roof. It's going to be very interesting to see. But it's all about change. It's all about change. And we're going to have to face ourselves. We're facing our shadow right now. We're no longer looking, uh, well, maybe we could say that the virus came from outside of us, but did it really? Did it really? Or on some level, have we created this um, metaphysically to cry for unity, cry for unity. So what's in the sky? This is the potential that is in the air, right? And we get this card, the Fool. The Fool is about a brand new, just it's like a leap of faith. It's like a whole new way. It's whenever I get this card for somebody in a reading, I say something that you haven't ever done or ever imagined or ever been before. You have an opportunity to do that now. And that's the potential of this moment. As horrifying and scary as it is, we have the potential to be anything that we want. And we can't hang on to the past. We need to release the past. We need to release to a certain extent our our addiction. Perhaps that's not the word I want to use, but our addiction to having other people tell us what we're supposed to do. Like, what should I do? There's somebody smarter than me. What, listening to what somebody else is telling you to do, and you're like, oh, okay, I'll do that. Or, you know, either thinking for yourself or utilizing your instincts, utilizing your instincts to say, yes, that's what I want to do. That's fine. Or no, that's not really what I want to do. And not so much do, but be and listen to and allow in your consciousness. So I kind of stopped at that point with this reading and I was like, wow. So what's possible ahead of us, right? Or what's possible in the sky is a whole sort of just a whole new level of consciousness. That card, the Fool card, is associated with Uranus. Uranus is about breaking free. It's like breaking out of the constraints where the it's almost like we're breaking out of an egg, like chicks out of an egg, and we're coming out. Um, we don't know what's on the other side of that shell, but whether ready or not, here it comes, and we have the ability to co-create. And so I think that's so very important because when the egg breaks or it cracks open, um, pure potential is is out for the taking and the utilizing. And don't think that the people who don't have our best intentions at heart aren't aware of this. But if we become aware of this, then we can utilize our sensibilities, our love for one another, our sense of connectedness. What do you really believe? Do you believe that it's survival of the fittest, or do you believe that love can unite us all and bring us to a higher and a better level? We're not fighting within ourselves. I mean, there's always going to be a struggle. There's always going to be a fight because there's always something new to learn, but we can let go of some of this stuff and move to a new level. So then I stopped and I said, and I saw how powerful these last uh what is this, 3 4 5 6 cards were. No, 5 cards. And I said, well, this is going to be an interesting, this is like the immediate future. What's ahead of us in the immediate future when it comes to this? And this is the card I got, the Tower. The tower falls, and the tower that falls is the lies that we tell ourselves. It's the it's the structures of who we think we're supposed to be instead of who we really are. We are spirit having a human experience, and spirit is reminding us of that. The lightning flash comes down. So, it's funny. I think it was yesterday or the day before that Bernie Sanders, I think it might have been the 8th, that he stepped down. And um, we had, like, here the next day, um, and I, I heard it and I listened to his speech and it was beautiful. And my husband hadn't heard it. And he's like, "What?" And he was like really emotionally wounded by the fact that Bernie stopped or had to stop, which he didn't. He's not really stopping, but his suspending his campaign. And I was surprised because I'm a pretty avid Bernie supporter, and I know my husband likes him and supports him, but I didn't really understand how much hope my husband had put into his campaign. Of course, my husband is a super optimist, and I had a lot of faith for it, but um, it's devastating. It's devastating, and oh, so that wasn't the point. The point, though, it is devastating, and I think that's part of this for some people. The point is that what is the point? Goodness gracious, it was there. It'll come back. It always does. The point is not coming back. This card is about spirit reminding us that we need to break down all the walls and we need to remember who we are. And the closer we are to spirit, the closer we are to each other. And so we will have the tower moment. And it will be a destruction, and there will be things that come down. Perhaps the economy's definitely coming down. It doesn't mean it's dead, and it doesn't mean that it can't come back up. But the economy as it is now, the way we have it set up, is done. The healthcare system, the way we have it set up, is done. Um, I would like to think the presidency is done. Not the presidency per se, but Donald Trump's presidency is done. And it really is. This is the thing. This is the thing that he could not overcome, and yet this is the thing that I can't say he single-handedly created, because that's not true. But he was certainly the catalyst to push this scenario. And he continues to make decisions that are undermining the very things that we need the most now. So all of that is going. It's going. And we will rebuild. And this does not mean it's the end of the world. It's just the end of the world as we know it. I feel fine. Well, I don't feel fine, but you kind of have to, on a certain level, feel fine. It's so big that you have to find feeling fine within your own heart, and figure out what kind of life you want to live and what's most important to you. Maybe those 5 people that you never spend any time with become the most important things in your life. And for some, the people who thought that those 5 people that loved each other would be together forever, and maybe that's not the case. Things are going to change, but it is a reflection of our need to reconnect with our spiritual and our instinctual nature. It's not just about having your head in the clouds, but it's about being embodied in your body, connecting heart and mind together, connecting the higher and the lower in the heart, the place of love that connects us all. That's what this is doing and will do. And we'll do it faster if we can get our mind around the fact that love is going to be the answer here. How it's seen from the outside. Interesting card, because what's outside of the world? I like to think this is the angels and the ascendant masters, and perhaps a few aliens that are watching, maybe some Pleiadians and Arcturians. I know all the names. I read all that stuff. Um, And this is what they think. They think this is a very young this is a very young planet who's still trying to figure out how to work with the physical plane, with the resources and with the gifts. We have problems as human beings dealing with the abundance that we have. It's like our world is abundant with things, and we choose to focus on all the wrong things and destroy the very earth that's giving us everything we'll ever need. So no wonder they think we're little kids. The domestic situation. Okay. This is a harsh card, but it means the end of something. And if you can see this poor soul is stabbed in his body through all these swords, but behind him there's a rising sun. You know, that idea of if it's darkest right before dawn. This is the dawn of a new age. This is the dawn of a whole new level of consciousness, folks. And yes, there is going to be losses, but even the losses that come our way, life continues, and those spirits will, if they choose, come back and have a new experience and a different experience. We don't just have one life experience. That wouldn't make any sense. You just don't go to grade 1 or go to the first day of high school and say, all right, I'm going to graduate now. It doesn't make any sense. Hopes and fears. The hope that we are going to be generous of spirit and give and balance the scales, or the fear that those who have it all will hold it all and let the rest of us suffer and just without care, as long as they're fine in their whatever communities or their cliques or their groups, while the rest of the world falls apart. I can't even imagine that anybody would want to do that. The outcome, and this was maybe the most shocking of all the cards that I got, the Ace of Cups. Love, unconditional love. This is also located in Kether. It is the root of water. Okay, the crown. This is the Holy Grail, the hand of God holding the Holy Grail, the dove of peace above, and the waters of unconditional love flowing freely, constantly flowing. So while it looks like we're going to go through a lot of changes, ultimately, what this is going to bring us to is love. And then I always pick to see if I can get a major arcana, and the next card I got was this, the World card. So if I were to put these two cards together, I would say love in the world. A manifestation of love. And then I looked at the bottom of the deck. And this is the card that was on the bottom of the deck. This is the Five of Pentacles. So what's underneath it all? And I see this card. Yes, it's definitely there's challenges here financially. There's want, there's need, there's a winter, perhaps a winter time, winter of the soul, perhaps of some form. But there's the light coming from the windows of the church. And one of these guys is looking up at the light. And it reminds us that if we keep our spiritual connection, if we keep our eyes high as we walk through this place, that it's that the earth and the things of the earth and money and things that we have are manifestations of spirit on some level, and there's no end to that. And so while we may go through a period of financial hardship, um, we can we can actually grow our hearts through the process, and then in that respect, I think, become more inclusive of all people, of all people. So I just thought it was a very, very interesting reading, and I hope you enjoyed that. I have no idea even what to call it. Um, so I will link those two things that I listened to, Naomi Klein and Noam Chomsky, because they sort of inspired this reading a bit. As they were talking, I was seeing sort of patterns and going in my head what was going on in the heavens astrologically, and I could see the things that they were saying and the energies they were talking about from an astrological point of view. And then I just flipped some cards, and these were the cards, and they're very, very powerful. So I mean, I say this often: love one another. um, there is definitely more that unites us, or that which unites us is more powerful, I think. And I'm a bit of an optimist. I think you can mitigate some of the disaster if you focus on how you want the energy that is expelled through the breakdown. Uh, if you can focus it in the direction that you want to see the world. So you have to focus every day on the world that you want to see. Do you want to see clear water? Do you want to see clear um, air? Do you want to see animals not being abused? Do you want to see people not being abused? Do you want to see people being fed and there being enough for everyone, and people living in it with a sense of harmony, knowing that what happens to the least of us is going to happen to the rest of us? That's the real lesson of this pandemic, is that we are really not different from one another, and we need one another, and we're going to have to learn how to play better if we even deserve the planet that we're on. All right, guys, like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.